What if America's closest allies suddenly stopped answering its calls? Picture this: the White House Situation Room, phones ringing into the void, urgent messages left unread, and the world's most powerful nation suddenly feeling isolated. For decades, the United States has been the center of gravity in global politics, economics, and security. Its leaders have been used to picking up the phone and getting an answer, sometimes a hesitant one, but always an answer. But what happens when those lines go silent? When the familiar voices on the other end are replaced by cold, automated responses, or worse, nothing at all. This isn't just a diplomatic nightmare, it's a seismic shift in the way the world works. Today we're counting down the top 10 countries turning against the US, and why it matters for your wallet, your future, and maybe even your dinner plate. These aren't just abstract geopolitical shifts, they have real consequences for everyday Americans. From rising prices at the supermarket to new travel restrictions, from job markets to national security, the ripple effects of these changing alliances are already being felt. So buckle up as we explore which nations are pulling away, what's driving the rift, and how these changes could impact your life in ways you might never have imagined. Let's dive in. First up, China, the ultimate frenemy. For decades, the relationship between the United States and China has been a complex dance of cooperation and competition, trust and suspicion. On the surface, these two global giants seem locked in a never-ending rivalry, but dig a little deeper, and you'll find a partnership that's shaped the modern world in ways most people don't even realize. For years, China made the goods, the US bought them. This simple formula powered the global economy, filling American homes with affordable products and fueling China's rapid rise from poverty to powerhouse. Factories in Shenzhen and Guangzhou churned out everything from smartphones to sneakers, while American consumers enjoyed low prices and endless choices. But now, China's building its own tech giants, flexing its muscles, and challenging the US at every turn. Companies like Huawei, Tencent, and BYD are no longer just copying Western innovations, they're setting the pace, leading in areas like 5G, artificial intelligence, and green technology. The days when China was simply the world's factory are over. Now, it's a global innovator, eager to compete on the world stage. Trade wars, tariffs, and South China Sea standoffs have turned cooperation into competition. The two countries have slapped billions of dollars in tariffs on each other's goods, sparking uncertainty in global markets. Meanwhile, military maneuvers and territorial disputes in the South China Sea have raised the stakes, making the world wonder if economic rivalry could spill over into something more dangerous. The US and China need each other, but trust is thin and rivalry is fierce. American companies rely on Chinese manufacturing, while China depends on access to US technology and markets. Yet every negotiation is fraught with suspicion, and every handshake hides a dozen unspoken worries. Both sides know that a total split would hurt them, and the rest of the world, even more. It's a love-hate relationship with global consequences. Decisions made in Washington and Beijing ripple across continents, affecting everything from the price of your next smartphone to the stability of entire economies. Allies and rivals alike watch nervously, knowing that when these two giants move, the world shifts with them. The world's watching, because when these two clash, everyone feels it. From Wall Street to Shanghai, from Silicon Valley to rural villages, the ripple effects are impossible to ignore. So, as the US and China continue their complicated dance, one thing's for sure, the stakes couldn't be higher. Stay tuned. Next, we turn our attention to Russia, the old rival, a nation whose shadow has loomed large over global affairs for generations. Even as the world changed, Russia never really left the stage. Its presence, sometimes overt and sometimes lurking in the background, has shaped the course of history and continues to do so today. Under the leadership of figures like Vladimir Putin, Russia has reasserted itself as a formidable force, determined to reclaim its influence on the world stage. Putin's calculated moves and strongman image have become synonymous with modern Russian power, signaling to the world that Russia is not to be underestimated. The collapse of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War brought a fleeting sense of optimism. For a moment, it seemed as if decades of suspicion and hostility might finally give way to cooperation and peace. Leaders shook hands, and the world watched with hope as old enemies talked of partnership. But that hope was short-lived. The annexation of Crimea, Russia's involvement in the Syrian conflict, and allegations of election meddling in Western democracies reignited old tensions. These actions sent shockwaves through the international community, reminding everyone that the rivalry was far from over. Today, the battleground has shifted. Instead of direct military confrontation, the US and Russia now engage in cyber attacks, wage proxy wars in distant lands, and unleash waves of propaganda to sway public opinion. The tools have changed, but the underlying struggle for power and influence remains as fierce as ever. It's a high-stakes chess match, with each side carefully plotting its next move. Diplomats and strategists sit across negotiation tables, aware that every decision could tip the balance. The tension is palpable, and the world watches as these two giants maneuver for advantage. While the immediate threat of nuclear war may have faded since the darkest days of the Cold War, the rivalry between the US and Russia is as sharp and dangerous as ever. The world holds its breath, waiting to see if a new détente will emerge, or if the cold shoulders will only grow colder. Next up, Turkey, NATO ally but increasingly unpredictable. Once a reliable partner, Turkey's buying Russian weapons and clashing with the US over Kurdish fighters in Syria. Internal crackdowns and shifting alliances have left trust in tatters. The US and Turkey still need each other, but suspicion runs deep. The bridge between East and West is wobbling. Can it hold, or will it collapse? Only time will tell. Next up, Iran. The nuclear deal offered hope, but the US withdrawal reignited tensions and sanctions. Now, Iran's expanding its influence across the Middle East, backing militias and challenging US allies. The US and Iran are locked in a dangerous game, each move raising the risk of conflict. No easy solutions, just escalating stakes. The standoff continues. Next, we have Saudi Arabia. The US-Saudi partnership was built on oil and security, but America's energy independence and the Khashoggi murder have strained ties. Saudi Arabia's regional ambitions and rivalry with Iran complicate things further. The US is struggling to balance old alliances with new realities. The sands are shifting in the Middle East. Both countries must adapt, or risk losing their influence. The old rules no longer apply. Next in our list is India, the world's largest democracy, charting its own course. US-India ties are warming, but India's close relationship with Russia and its Make in India push create friction. Trade disputes and regional priorities, especially with Pakistan, mean India won't just follow Washington's lead. The US wants a partner, India wants independence. It's a delicate dance with global implications. India's not afraid to ruffle feathers. Watch this space. Next is Brazil. Populist politics, environmental controversies, and a pivot toward China have cooled US-Brazil relations. China's now Brazil's top trading partner, investing heavily in infrastructure and agriculture. The US is left watching as Brazil asserts its independence. Brazil's writing its own script, and it doesn't include playing second fiddle. The power dynamic is shifting. Next up, Germany, America's longtime ally, but the friendship is cooling. Leadership changes, defense spending disputes, and trade competition have created new tensions. Germany's not afraid to challenge the US on policy, from military budgets to car tariffs. The relationship is evolving, less bromance, more business. Germany's charting its own course in Europe and beyond. The US can't take its loyalty for granted. Times are changing. Next up, we have South Africa, key player in the BRICS bloc, challenging Western dominance. Post-apartheid, ties with the US warmed, but now South Africa's looking east, deepening partnerships with China, Russia, and India. South Africa's not shy about criticizing US foreign policy or seeking new trade partners. China's investments are reshaping Africa's future. The US is struggling to keep up. South Africa's forging its own path. Last but not the least, we have Mexico, neighbor, partner, and sometimes adversary. NAFTA brought prosperity, but trade disputes, immigration battles, and border wall politics have strained relations. Mexico's new leadership is more assertive, pushing back against US pressure. The issues, trade, drugs, migration, aren't going away. Mexico's asserting its independence even if it means clashing with Washington. The relationship is complex, and the stakes are high. The drama continues. So there you have it, the top 10 countries turning away from the US in 2025. Trade wars, shifting alliances, and new rivalries are reshaping the world order. The US is learning that superpower status comes with new challenges. Which country surprised you most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more global updates. Stay curious. The world isn't waiting.